I do that. So, I would very much like Robert for the invitation. When we talk about handling these things, and when we hear the description of what they're doing in the United States, I think a lot of people from small countries will say, that sounds fine. We would very much like to find a way to screen foreign investments. We would very much like to do these things. But my little country don't have the same resources as the United States have. We don't have the same experts. We cannot do all these things by ourselves. How do we do in reality? And I would very much like to share with you some of the experience, because I come from a small country. I'm a telecom expert, but I'm living in Denmark, which is a country with 5.7 million people. And we have actually implemented a year ago a very fine, what we call the Danish Act for Foreign Investment Screening, which is basically a model where we have basically, it's a two-sided model, because normally you either look at foreign investments, that could be one set of rules, and on the other side you would look at companies acquiring equipment from, let's say, Chinese companies, equipment from Huawei and so on. So that would be another set of rules. But we have put those two things into one law, if you could say like that. We have folded it together in an easy way. So we basically don't distinguish between a foreign company invest in a Danish company or a Danish company build their infrastructure on top of equipment from a Chinese vendor. So we basically consider those two things as one thing. And what I think is very important is to say that we look at it, we have some limitations where we basically says if we talk about investments, we talk about minimum 10% or more. And basically, we also looked at it from that perspective that we don't look at investments exclusive, but we also look at joint ventures, partnerships, companies as suppliers, and so on. The next thing which is also important is that we have a very clear who's these rules counting for. And because Denmark is a part of the European Union, which also have an agreement with some countries like Norway and Switzerland, so we have actually a very clear framework saying this is accounting for Danish companies doing business with basically companies which is not among our partners. The interesting thing is also that we have identified what we will call 5 different industry sectors where we do this. So we say these rules account for companies in the defense sector, and we have a very clear definition. If you're in the defense sector, it can be quite wide, but anyhow. It's also companies which are in the field of IC security or processing classified information. And then also it's required for companies which produce dual-use products. And dual-use products is basically products which can be used as a civilian part, but at the same time for war, as defense products. And that could be a drone, for instance, which can be used for civil purpose, but it could also be used in for war purpose. And then we look at it, we look at technology, critical technology, that is telecommunication, energy, and the numbers of other supply utilities, where we basically say these industries is basically critical for our society, so it also counts for companies in that. And basically, it also counts for the public sector or public-owned companies. So we don't only say this count for private companies, it also counts for public companies. 2 seconds. So basically, to end this up, you can say this is a simple model where it's simple described, it's easy to implement, and basically it have already been used to tell TDC, the AT&T or the incumbent in Denmark, to remove Huawei equipment from their fixed line infrastructure, where we use this law and said this is vital infrastructure, you have to remove this infrastructure before a certain date. I would love to share the information. The law has been translated into English. You can go home, you can copy it. you can implement it. It can be done very fast. You don't need to start the big work. It's already been done. And thank you very much. Since